Our target, Mun. Our objective, safely landing at least one Kerbal. The time limit, 60 minutes. When the timer hits 0, that means hands off. Let's go. Okay, time is ticking. Let's build this rocket. First step, even before building any vehicle, bring up a delta V map to know how much delta V you need for each stage of the mission. I love the one from Louis Vernois. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, sorry about that, because it is interactive. You select your origin, your target, if you want to land or not, if you can use aero brake or not, etc, etc. And then your flight path is neatly highlighted on the map and details are displayed in the table. Awesome. So for a Mun landing we need 3400 delta V to get into low Kerbin orbit, 1200 delta V for the Mun transfer and 600 delta V for the landing. While building, I'll add a small safety margin on all of the stages in case something goes wrong. On to the actual vehicle. We start with a capsule. I take the big one that can fit 3 Kerbals. Each stage normally consists of 2 basic building blocks, a tank and an engine. So let's add a tank and an engine to our capsule. I go with the Terrier engine, the GOAT for vacuum. If we want to land properly and in style, of course we need landing legs as well. And some foreshadowing, we might try to get back to Kerbin, re-enter the atmosphere and land or splash down later as a bonus, if we can afford it. So we add a parachute and a heat shield. Now we have a nice 1700 delta V in this stage, hopefully enough to also get back to Kerbin as a bonus. Good. Now that the lander is done, we can progress to the second stage, the one that will bring us from low Kerbin orbit to Mun. So let's wrap the lander in a nice fairing. As with all stages, the basics are a tank and an engine, also for the second one. I go with the next bigger engine, the Skipper. This stage gives us a nice 2600 delta V, more than enough. On we go to our first stage. We increase the diameter of the tanks to the next level. Let's go with the mainsail engine. But now we have an issue. It only gives us 0.66 TWR, thrust weight ratio. To get off the ground, we need at least 1.0. So we do it the Kerbal way and add more boosters. Now we have a nice 1.28 thrust weight ratio on launch. That should get us off the ground. We check our staging. Spoiler, first try it almost never is correct. And we go for the first test ride. Not a real crash, but at least an issue. We forgot to add launch clamps. Learning number 1, always add launch clamps. Off we go with a nice roll program. And when we start the pitch program, I noticed that we have the boosters 90 degrees wrong. Learning number 2, if you use two-way symmetry for the boosters, always put them north-south, not east-west. The vapor cone mod adds a nice vapor cone effect when we break the sound barrier. Booster separation goes flawlessly, at least that we got right. But something seems wrong. We are way too deep in the atmosphere still, and our ascent profile is already way too shallow. We generate a lot of heat. And of course, this happens, the atmospheric drag turns our rocket around and we lose control. The learning here, 0.97 TWR is not enough for a second stage to follow a nice ascent profile. We need more thrust. Okay, let's go and fix the issues with what we learned. First, we put on a stronger engine. Let's go with the Mammoth. Next, we add the launch clamps. I'm not sure if this is a visual bug in the VIB or if this is supposed to look like that, but rest assured, when we load into the game, the clamps will be fully there. And last, we change the orientation of the boosters by 90 degrees. Let's go for test launch number 2. Notice how the clamps dropped the rocket before the boosters fired? Yeah, another case of check your staging. Roll program looks good. And pitch program looks fine this time as well. The boosters are on the sides. Also the ascent profile looks better now. Once we reach our desired apoapsis of 100 km, the coasting phase starts. But we are only at 50 km altitude, there is still some atmospheric drag here. We could have added some fins to the rocket to stabilize it a bit here. But the engine gimbal and occasional thrusts can keep control up. So we're good. After all, we are still rushing against the countdown here. It doesn't need to be perfect, it just has to work. Circularization burn works perfect. Now we can stage and continue with the second stage. I just noticed that we still have the fairing on. That's of course not necessary, so another case of check your staging. Quickly planning a Mun transfer, and 1 Mun rise later we can perform the Trans-Mun Injection burn. Having arrived at the Mun, we can separate our lander stage. I'm not sure why the separator of the fairing is not part of the staging, so we have to decouple it manually. If anyone knows why that is not there, or how to perform it properly, let me know in the comments please. We randomly perform a deorbit burn, since this is still just a test flight, so we don't really care where we land exactly. MacJeb performs the landing and nails it perfectly. So we finally have a rocket and a lander that is able to perform the full mission. Let's fix the last few learnings. Correct the launch clamp staging, correct the fairing staging, and finally, not due an issue or a crash, but always a good thing to do with any rocket, add either a way to generate power like solar panels, RTGs, or have a nice big battery with you that will last for the whole mission. You really don't want to do everything correct and then last minute in the end you end up in the darkness of space in a completely dark capsule. Because with no power, you also have no control anymore. Very well, let's get going for real. 3, 2, 1, lift off. Look at that, we are launching right next to a thunderstorm. Awesome visuals. Thanks to BlackRack's True Volumetric Clouds version 5 mod. Perfect roll program, perfect pitch program. Booster separation is perfect. Let's circularize while we have this nice Mun rise in the background. Now we can get rid of the payload fairing and the first stage. As always, the Trans-Mun Injection burn happens right after the Mun pops up over the horizon. That is a really nice way if you want to know when to perform the burn even without doing the maneuver planning properly. Let's plan a small correction burn so that our Mun periapsis is around 85 kilometers. And hello Mun. Let's circularize our Mun orbit. Now we can finally decouple the lander from the second stage and continue with our main mission, landing on the Mun. Let's pick a nice crater for our landing spot and have MacJeb guide us down safely. Look at that! What a nice view to land on the Mun, with Kerbin in the back. Isn't that beautiful? And we made it! Mission successful! And we have 1 minute 25 seconds left on the countdown. Enough time to get everyone out for a nice photo, no? Okay, I told that there might be a bonus. We have accomplished the mission goal, but let's add a little extra now. Let's bring our 3 brave Kerbals back home. First attempt doesn't go so well. Well, the second is not much better, but at least we didn't explode this time. And we do have pretty strong reaction wheels on the capsule. Finally, we can lift off and make it to Mun orbit. Let's plan the flight back home. We aim for a nice 45 kilometer Kerbin periapsis. Bye bye, Mun. And hello, Kerbin. Let's decouple so that we are only left with the capsule and its heat shield and the parachute. Once we enter the atmosphere, I spin up the map view and activate the trajectories mod to check out where we are about to land. And oops, turns out that apparently 45 kilometers is not deep enough in the atmosphere to slow us down enough to lower our apoapsis down into the atmosphere as well. What does that mean? We will bounce off the atmosphere and do a little bonus round around Kerbin to re-enter a second time. The learning here, get the periapsis lower than 45 kilometers next time. Did you hear that sound? Do you recognize it? Yep, that was the parachute deploying. Way too early and too high up. It immediately cut off. Let's see what happens without the parachute now. As expected, nobody survives hitting the ocean with 150 meters a second. The learning here, properly configure the parachute settings. Enable the parachute maybe like at 10 kilometers or even 5 kilometers and deploy it at 1 kilometer. But the chat had an awesome idea on how to rescue our free Kerbals after all. They bring their own parachutes. So one by one we have them EVA, jump off and deploy their personal parachutes. At the end, all three splash down safely. Happy end. So this was mission 1 of the new series, Crash and Learn. I would say it was a total success. We had not so many crashes, but a lot of learnings, and we completed the mission successfully. Let's do a post-mortem and sum up what we learned in mission 1. Always add launch clamps. Rotate boosters north-south. Have at least slightly above 1.0 thrust-weight ratio for correct ascent profile. Check your staging, and check your staging. Add fins to your rockets for stability inside the atmosphere. Add big enough battery or power generation options. Re-enter with a periapsis lower than 45 kilometers to properly get captured. Configure your parachutes correctly. We will definitely bring those learnings into the next episode and hopefully won't repeat those mistakes ever again. No promises on the check your staging though. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of this new format. Let's learn together by crashing more in the future. By the way, I need your help. Come join us on the Discord and suggest your own challenges for the format. Invite link is in the description, of course. So, see you next time and remember, crash hard, learn faster. Bye bye.